Hey guys, this is Eddie James, Kaiser Soze, once again, doing episode 2 for week 7 recap of fantasy football for the Cooter Polluters Fantasy Football League. Welcome back, everyone. Glad to have you for another go at this. I think we'll try to get a video out a little earlier next week. It's a little bit tough with work. You guys get it. Want to look at, I guess we'll jump right into games, or maybe we should dick around for a little bit. I don't really know. Maybe we'll dick around. I wanted to take a look at the league participancy. I love in the chat. What's up, guys? I want to get an article in. I'm gonna maybe do myself an article eventually here. Again, if you guys have any questions about how the league goes or how we do things, then just let me know. But I'm going to take a second and bring up the Week 7 schedules, and we'll take a look at our kind of week by week. I'll start with my favorite game of the week and go from there. I thought it was going to be my favorite game of the week last week, and it surely was. This was Butkus Dick versus the Shitbags. And I thought I really wanted Walsh to get his win. That would have been great. The chat was hilarious with Shitbags mentioning he wanted to be the number 1 for Walsh. But it'll come eventually, my friend, in life and in fantasy. Nope, that's going to be okay. I thought I dropped that cigarette into some fireworks, but if I die, then you guys will know why. I was doing what I loved. Big time starters for Butkus Dick here. Ended up getting huge game out of Sammy Watkins. That is a player that he ought to keep. And if we were playing keepers, that's would be outside of Eddie Lacy on that team, the only player worth keeping. But yeah, hell of a game there. Could have got a little bit of help from Cordarrelle Patterson, but as I said last week, he's probably worth a drop. Martellus Bennett's still chugging along, but got in a start where I didn't disagree with. Jordan Cameron was not so good. Either way, Shitbags had also not a great efficiency rating, I guess, at 78%. Walsh was fine at 90%. But you start what you can with what you got, I guess, in his case. Flacco got him a nice couple of points. Again, with Calvin Johnson out, he's going to have to find guys to get points everywhere. A couple of wide receivers that weren't great, and Brian Quick and Mohamed Sanu. I liked the Mohamed Sanu start. That was just fine. But missing out on Odell Beckham's 21.8 points there hurt him a bit, but ended up not hurting him that much. Outside that, good game played there. I was really rooting for Walsh. Too bad. Moving on, we're going to look at my second favorite game of the week, Hot Boxin versus Team Thomas. I was really happy to see Hot Boxin get his first win of the year for the third time or whatever, fourth time. getting big starts out of his quarterback, Andre Ellington, and of all people, Golden Tate, who I'm liking for a start as long as Calvin Johnson is out. He's your middle of the round wide receiver 1 for the time being, and probably going forward. Team Thomas had his usual string of really nice play. Didn't get very much help out of his running backs though. Outside that, his wide receivers played well, and he ended up getting 139 points, which is good. It'll usually get you a win. But 144 points out of Hot Boxin kind of did the trick for him there. Pierre Garçon from his team might be worth a start going forward. Looks like, well, I guess outside of that 80-yard touchdown or whatever the hell he got, he wasn't that great, but a player to maybe think about. Outside of that, his wide receivers were fine. Golden Tate was good too. Dwayne Allen, of course, is looking better and better as Reggie Wayne is out for a little while here too. Double that on T.Y. Hilton for whoever has that. He's definitely going to be solid for the going future. I guess the Team Thomas wide receiver tight end combination there was pretty holler for Team Thomas once again, but wasn't quite the train wreck normally was happening. And Hot Boxin, I should say, squeaked out a victory because J.J. Watt only netted 7.5 points for Team Thomas, which that's actually maybe the lowest point total that he's had. You can bank on 30 points out of that guy every week. So that was my second favorite game of the week. The other ones were pretty close going into like the Monday night game kind of a thing. Really close game went down on with team no touchdowns. Not that it mattered on the Monday night game, but at 148.5 for team no touchdowns over the Bucket Rippers, Peyton Manning just went outside of his brain. This was done on Sunday night, I believe, when Peyton Manning scored all the touchdowns. He had about 7 of them. 8. No, he had. I think he had 12 touchdowns in that game to get himself 35.9 points. I scaled the points back for him. So big game out of him. Roddy White in a weird start. Julio Jones not getting exactly what he wanted out of that game. But Roddy White and Wallace, Bradshaw, all of Team No Touchdowns, Devin Regeer's players, ended up playing well. He could have started Tony the Romo and would have got him a loss, but went with Peyton Manning. Not a bad start. Maybe you should look to trade that Tony Romo. He's a good player, but Peyton Manning is always going to get your start. Scotty's team also had great weeks. 30.1 out of Rogers, 28.9 out of Matt Forte. Very nice weeks. Jordan Nelson, these are all wide receiver ones or just outside the ones there for Scott. So two very good teams. Both I believe now tied with me at 4-3 for third place. Actually, Scotty might be a game ahead of us there. So big game out of them. Moving on, Smoking a Jeffrey played Yo Namath in another game that was very tight until the very end, where Antonio Brown had a huge second half there for Pittsburgh and ended up getting in the win. DeMarco Murray also in the same game was just outstanding. So were they the same game? Whatever, doesn't really matter. They played very similar games where they crushed. And Smoking a Jeffrey again, big week out of Arian Foster. He is money. If we were to do the draft over again, would you have believed that we would have taken probably like DeMarco Murray, Arian Foster, and Le'Veon Bell, the top 3 running backs, and for receivers, you're looking at some other goofs that don't really matter that much. Hell of an efficiency rating there for Smoking a Jeffrey at 94%. But Yo Namath had him beat there with the 100%, and looked like he needed just about every bit of it. So good job, Yo Namath. You are as well. Also are steamrolling the league here. Kaiser Soze versus the All Blacks. This was a game that Brian he had just a tough time, but Mark Ingram's going to be a heck of a start for him in Week 8 with both those New Orleans running backs going down. But he ended up getting 88.4% on a 70% efficiency rating, missing points out of, well, I guess Chris Ivory. Who do you start that? I don't blame him for not starting that. Alfred Morris wasn't great, but Reggie Bush would have netted him 3 points, and his wide receiver, he would have netted another 7 points. So I'm not so sure he would have had a shot there. But I wasn't very hot on my efficiency rating there either, mostly because I didn't start Shane Vereen on Thursday night, which, I mean, looking back, is a pretty smart bet. And Wes Welker also outscored all but Randall Cobb of my receivers. So missing out there on 2 guys, but no big deal. I still ended up with 130 points, and I would have ended up with 150 if I started the right guys, but I didn't. So there. I don't give a shit what you guys think. I won. Now I'm at 4-3, and if I were to call this group of players in our league, like over the Fellowship of the Ring, when they're first getting all together, most of the players become the Fellowship. I would say that maybe Devin is Gollum, and perhaps Smoking a Jeffrey and Scotty, they'd be like elves that we didn't meet yet, but we're about to meet perhaps in a later episode. Not Legolas, no, not nearly that good, but like shitty elves, one of the worst elves. And shitbags, of course, being Pippin, with Walsh being Merry. And that's and where I would be literally the ring, and so you guys would have to carry me everywhere. I would command your like, my power would be to command you to do my will, and that is life for all of us. Well, that was fun. Going into Week 8, again, so the Thursday game is already gone. Had some very big performances out of some guys on the Thursday nighter, which never usually happens. You don't typically go for Thursday night starters as a rule. I don't like to anyway, especially with running backs. But a lot of these guys that were playing on Thursday, I'll mention straight off the hop, so I don't have to get into them again. Peyton Manning having another giant game with 29 points. Keenan Allen getting a huge game for Butkus Dick with his his first touchdown of the year. Good for him with 9 for 73. So crazy good game for him. Smoking a Jeffrey had a huge performances out of the San Diego Chargers quarterback and the Denver wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders. I'm telling you, he's going to be a great player for the rest of this year. Phillip Rivers 25.7, Emmanuel Sanders 38.6. Team Thomas, not the huge game that he usually gets out of Thomas's, but just fine. 18.5 out of the wide receiver. 4.3, you'd like to see a touchdown out of Julius Thomas. He normally gets you 2 or 3, so it is what it is. And Yo Namath getting 7 for linebacker, that's pretty solid. Brandon Oliver having a down game in what he ends up getting 13.3 points. He is money in the bank for a little while here. He ends up with 7 receptions. This is fucking crazy from your running back. I got a usual up and down. This time it was an up game from Antonio Gates, got 2 touchdowns, and Ronnie Hillman pitching in for 17 for my opponent this week, the Bucket Rippers. So my favorite game of the week is going to end up being Team Thomas versus Yo Namath. This is a big hitting game, so I'm actually cheering against both of them. Maybe hoping that the injuries take over. Team Thomas starting Russell Wilson, fine, that's no problem. Yo Namath is going to have a tough time with Matt Ryan. His matchups for the next couple of weeks are just insane. It's like 5 more weeks of like hell. He wouldn't be a bad guy to pick up another quarterback, but tough to carry 3 quarterbacks on a roster at any point in time. He's also got Colin Kaepernick, who is on the bye this week, I believe. So he's not looking very healthy at quarterback. Maybe the only soft spot on his team of just wrecking balls. Jamal Charles, DeMarco Murray, Antonio Brown, Jeremy Maclin. He's going with 2 tight ends this week, unless he changes it at the last second with Travis Kelce and Jordan Reed. There's got to be a better player you can start rather than those 2 tight ends. At any rate, against Team Thomas, he's got the regulars, Dez Bryant, the crew, Gio, and not starting Andrew Luck, which I maybe would against anybody, unless they're, for some reason, I missed it. Are they on bye? I don't think they are. So, go teams go. Injure yourselves. Maybe Jamal and DeMarco and the 2 Thomases there all injure themselves, which would be great and open up, some room for me to sneak my way into first place. My second favorite game is involving myself, Casus Jose versus the Bucket Rippers. We are fairly evenly matched, I think, with Scotty able to take a big victory, or I am able to take a big victory. We're both capable of scoring 200 points or thereabouts in this league. I'm not going with LaShawn McCoy this week against a very stiff defense. I don't remember who it is. Houston, maybe? Whoever. Nope, it's not Houston. Somebody else, though. I don't really care. I'm not starting him. He's not that good. Anybody want to trade for him? It'll only take your first rounder. But I'm going with Jay Cutler. He had a bad week, or maybe bad 2 weeks there, so not a big deal. I'm happy with Justin Forsett. He looks like he's getting the lion's share. If he can get me a touchdown and 2 receptions a game, I'm going to be really happy. And Lamar Miller, who's going to be my pig. He's so good. I love him. Going with the standards, Randall Cobb, Julian Edelman, and Brandon Marshall. I didn't really like any of the other matchups really too much, so going with those guys. And Antonio Gates, of course, is already in there. Drake Bell will be fine for the rest of the year. I'm scared of Matt Forte. He's scary. And Jordy Nelson. Rob Gronkowski also could explode at any point in time. The defenders, we'll just see where those go. They are what they are. Kyle Fuller has a injury, but he's going to be playing, so hopefully that works out for me as well. Moving on. All Blacks versus Hot Boxing. I like this game. This looks to be a close game. I like Cam Newton to get better and better. I like Mark Ingram to be fine. Julio Jones is going to be fine as well. I expect All Blacks to score 130 points a game, kind of a thing, minimum. So hopefully that works out for him. Going with Chris Ivory, sure. What are you going to do? Do it. Alfred Morris is tough to start in this league. And Hot Boxing going with Old Faithful, Drew Brees, who's getting better and better. Started out with a pretty rotten start to the year without a whole lot of touchdowns, but he's been fine recently. So Andre Ellington's going to be fine as well. Golden Tate and Pierre Garçon are worthy starts. So hopefully any of those guys break out. Good chance both of those guys end up with touchdowns in offenses that don't really have a whole lot, else to offer. So good job, guys. Way to go. And I believe finally here we have Smokin' and Jeffrey versus the Shitbags. I expect this also to be a tight game. There's a lot of tight games this week. I don't think anybody will... Well, sorry, I still have one more team to go. But There's still going to be some blowouts, but it won't be expected blowouts. These are tight teams. Phillip Rivers, again, mentioned him, but Arian Foster um, and Kelvin Benjamin, Greg Olson are all monsters for Smoking Jeffrey with the shitbags. Of course, Le'Veon Bell, so good. T.Y. Hilton, Mohamed Sanu should both be fine as well. And Vernon Davis, always good for 10 points or so at tight end. So close game there. I expected in the 120s to 130s, possibly the winner cracking 140. And then we have Team No Touchdowns versus Butkus Dick. Butkus Dick looking for his first win. And me, of course, cheering for him to spoil Devin's chances at the playoffs. Hopefully that works out. If you guys are watching, please let me know if we should do a 6 or an 8-man playoff. Leaning towards 6. But we'll see. That going, of course, record. I think it's winning percentage, record. Same thing, basically. And then points for. So that's how we do the scorings. There's a little more in-depth look at things for when they go to ties, but that's basically how it goes. At any rate, Team No Touchdowns got a big performance out of Peyton Manning. He's expecting more big performances of Bradshaw and hopefully a bounce-back week for Lynch. Mike Wallace is fine. Brady White is fine. Jason Witten's fine. Drop Chandler Catanzaro already, even though he's going to win the Best Name of the Year award from PA Fine Foods, sponsoring that. Brian Hoyer, looks like he's starting him again. This is, again, Saturday afternoon, so I don't know why he wouldn't pick up a guy like Ben Roethlisberger or me, like myself, Eddie James, the ring, to play running back or quarterback or wide receiver for him. Me and Sammy Watkins would be best friends, so him and Deshaun Jackson are going to be fine. I expect Butkus Dick to take a win here with big plays out of Eddie Lacy, and hopefully Crowell gets the ball a little more than he did last week if Walsh intends to start him, and Sammy Watkins goes crazy again. Jordan Cameron may be fine as well, but I have a feeling Ryan will tinker and change a lot of these things. So we'll take a look at that next week when we revisit the Week 8 fantasy football. But that's the kind of the meat and potatoes of this fantasy video. We're at the 17-minute mark, and I don't want to be talking for more than 20 minutes. With that said, we'll take a look at the standings right now and how things are looking to shake up. Yo Namath at 6-1, taking over for Team Thomas. He's looking for a victory this week for sole possession by a full game of first place. And then we've got a glut of 3 teams at 4-3. Team No Touchdowns, Bucket Rippers, and myself. So big game between me and him this week. 3 guys at 3-4, and Lonely Walsh at 0-7. So Walsh looking for his first win. If he goes on a bit of a streak, he can still make playoffs. That's fine with everybody. Shitbags, All Blacks, Hotbox, and Smoking a Jeffrey, all looking for a spot in the playoffs as well. Maybe we should go 8 teams. I don't know. Playoffs are fun. And we could go a full season too. I sure do like doing that. Why not? It makes for interesting stuff. It's not a typical way to do it, but we're not a typical league. We are the Cooter Polluters, Fantasy Football NFL, professional franchise. We have many names, but we're probably the best of all the names. No visit from Mally today. I'm outside. I wanted to get away from the girls a little bit, or rather have them be away from me. It's a gift to them that I gave. So I'm really good that way. I'm kind ring. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm going to dawdle on for a little bit and perhaps cut some of this shit out, but likely I'll keep it all in because I'm lazy, and who likes editing? Not me. I have some smack talk for Scott, but I'll save it for when we hang out. It looks like maybe I'm going to have ribs over at Teddy's place, so I better bring something to make up for like the 3/4 of the wings I'm going to end up eating that are meant to feed like 7 or 8 people. So sorry in advance for that, and we'll see you next week for Week 8 recap and Week 9 preview. If anybody has an idea for segments that we can maybe add to the fantasy video, please let me know. You can let me know on the YouTube, or you can let me know on the fantasy site itself, which is fantasy football, myfantasyleague.com/Cooter Polluters. You can find it. Google it. I don't fuck. Google it. Use the internet in your words, like I don't like doing. But yeah, we'll talk to you guys later.